Hi there, and welcome to day one of the Find Your Focus course. And this day is about preparation. And as you'll see in these videos, we go much deeper into the topic that we've talked about in the book. So today we'll take a really deep look at preparation and a few ways how you can prepare better for things and how that will help you focus. There are many situations in life where preparation will help a lot, but where we might often forget. So, of course, with work, there's a lot of planning you need to do. You can plan ahead for projects, you can plan your week, you can plan your quarter, you can plan your day. But you can also have certain tasks and routines. So, for example, when you have meetings, you should always prepare your meeting. Or when you kick off a new marketing project, or you bring on board a new customer. But also when you look at personal development. So, of course, when you start a course like this one, you can prepare for the course. You can prepare how you're going to learn, how you're going to take notes, when you're going to do it. What I find is that when it comes to preparation, it's very often useful, especially for things that keep coming back, to have a certain ritual, because otherwise you might forget about it. So, for example, I like to plan my weeks in advance, and I found that picking a specific time to do that, which for me is Sunday afternoon, is very useful, because then I'll get in the habit of doing that. And if it's Sunday afternoon after lunch, I usually think, oh, I got to prepare my week. Getting into ritual will make it more likely that you'll follow through on your preparation for something, because preparation is something that's usually easy to put off. If you want to, you can just skip it and just go straight into that meeting, or you can just start your week and see what will happen. So that's why it's important to have a ritual, because preparation is something you can easily throw off your to-do list, or that you can forget about. And that's why establishing a ritual, so you have a trigger of like, when do I normally do this, and what steps do I take when I'm preparing for this specific activity, can be very important. And then when you're doing the activity, that also clears your head and makes sure you can focus on what you're doing, because you don't have to worry about, oh, did I prepare? Do I know what's coming up? So how can you prepare? So there's tools and there's things you can do, and some are, again, obvious, but it's good to mention them. The to-do list is also a form of preparation. You keep track there of what it is you need to do. You can assign due dates. You can prioritize often what are you going to do first. So to-do list can be a very useful tool for preparation. And then there are checklists and a decision journal. And a decision journal is a very specific form of checklist. And I will tell you a little bit more about those two right after this. And then, of course, something else you can do is practice. I was really triggered by the importance of checklists when I read the book, The Checklist Manifesto. And especially this quote sums it up. It says, checklists seem able to defend anyone, even the experienced, against failure in many more tasks than we realized. They provide a kind of cognitive net. They catch mental flaws inherent in all of us, flaws of memory and attention and thoroughness. So this is written by a surgeon, Atul Gawande, and checklists are now often used in hospitals and also by pilots, for example. So you might think that a checklist is only useful when you do something very mundane, maybe, or a routine job, and if you're an expert, you don't need it. But what I found is that in modern knowledge work, you can get so busy, and there can be so much information, and there can be so much things you need to do, that it's very easy to forget to do certain things in your week or your day. And this goes beyond just preparation, but I find that especially the tasks like preparing your day, preparing a meeting, things like that, are easy to forget and to skip when you get very busy. So by using some kind of checklist, you can actually help yourself to make sure you do these things every day. So what I do these days, on the left, you see an example of a checklist that I use for my days, which has all the routine things that I want to do and I want to make sure I don't forget about. For example, my personal things are green, like meditation and journaling and things like that. Of course, it doesn't have to be as complex as the one you see on the left. There's also the one in the middle, which is kind of a simpler form. And then on the right is another example to use a checklist for a specific activity. So, for example, when I have a meeting, I always prepare, but what I realized was that I often forget to Google somebody's name. So I would always remember to check their LinkedIn profile, but I would always forget to Google their name. So that's why I now have a checklist that if I have a meeting, I run through these points to make sure I don't forget any of those points, any of the things that I want to do that are essential for preparing a meeting. And then here's a very specific type of checklist, which is a decision journal. And I ran across that on Farnham Street, which is a blog about better thinking and decision making. And Shane Parrish, the founder, said, one reason we struggle to get better at making decisions is because we rarely receive feedback on the quality of our decisions. And here, this is a very specific example of something that you wouldn't normally think much about making a decision, because we just usually do it in our head. Maybe we talk a little bit with each other and then you make a decision. By following this framework, you get a much better overview of the pros and cons. That's step number one. Number two, the second question really forces you to think about, are there maybe actually other options? And then the most important one is to write down what you expect are the consequences of the decision. So usually we'll make a decision and then later maybe we're right or wrong, but we might be right for the wrong reasons. But if you write it down and you write down what did you expect of this decision, you can go back later on and see what was your expectation and what actually happened. So that will help you to improve the quality of your decision making. And then you could write down what is your mood if you really want to get very detailed. Were you tired or were you very energetic? So you can start comparing in that way. And then you of course write down what is the actual decision you decided to make. And then later you can revisit this and you can go back and say, okay, what was the actual consequence? And then you can compare that to the expected consequence that you wrote down. And that way you'll learn from your decision and you'll improve your decision making. These are just examples of how preparation can help improve your thinking, your focus, and your days. So you can download these. You can download all these templates, but also you try to think about the things that you do on a regular basis throughout your days and throughout your weeks, and see if you could, if there are things that you could prepare better, and if checklists or other tools that I mentioned could help you. Because again, if you're prepared better, you'll have a clearer mind when you're in the activity, and that way you will be more focused and get higher quality work done.